The inspiration for the River of Poppies really came from the Tower of London display in 2014. I'm with the Haywards Heath Horticultural Society, and we go around the schools trying to involve children with it. And we had decorated flower pots last year, so I thought, oh, we could do poppies. And then it just grew from there. When I decided to involve the schools, I thought, well, what figure am I looking at? So I went onto the Roll of Honour and looked, and there's different amounts, but it's between 800 and 1 point something million. So I decided on $1 million and thought, $1 million? No, I don't think so. 100,000? No. 10,000? I think 10,000's doable. So that's where I got my 10,000 from. The orchards do an event in the summer called Strictly. Strictly gardening, strictly summer. This year we were looking for something else to do with Strictly, and we came up with Strictly poppies. And this would lead to us planting the first poppy to start the River of Poppies.
The ceremonial act of planting the first of the River of Poppies, which will be this town's unique commemoration of the centenary of the Great War, and the men and women of this town and of many other towns and of around the whole world who've lost their lives in conflict. Thank you.
Do you want one of those?
Yes, and then we'll get
Take it out again.
So now I've decided on 10,000. Where on earth am I going to put them? How am I going to display them? Where are they going to go? What permission do I need? I looked around at various shops. This I decided wasn't going to really work, not with 10,000 anyway. We have a green area, Muster Green, so I decided that that would be an ideal spot. It's where the war memorial is, so it made sense to do it there. How long was it going to be there for? Well, I decided that probably September was going to be a good time to actually put them in before we got any leaf drop, so they'd be a carpet of red going down the middle. So I got my permission, having gone to the town council and spoken to them and said, right, can I do this? Is this possible? They agreed. So now I had my place to put them. Now all I had to do was get them made. The idea of doing handmade poppies and how we actually achieved this was by doing workshops. We did the workshops in the Orchards shopping centre, and these worked really well.
And when we finished, to hide the chalk, we just turn them over, make it into a circle, and there's the basis of the poppy.
To do a lot of wiggling here. That goes in. That goes in. And we put it straight together.
They love it, poppy.
That's it.
Yeah.
Turn this one and put this poppy in the middle and wiggle it in.
Wiggle it
And at the top we put down through the wire. Then we get the stick, we push it into the hole that's in the top, and then we wind the wire round.
I was up at Board Hill discussing how we could make a display during their rose fortnight. And I said, really, I'm a little bit busy with the poppies. And they said, oh, poppies, oh, what's that? Can we help? We've got an artist garden coming up from August to the end of September. So I said, oh, yes, I could do a display, I'm sure. So it would involve 100 poppies. So I ended up getting a structure made and putting 100 poppies into the structure and putting it at Board Hill. I do an awful lot with the Mid-Sussex wood recycle yard down Rocky Lane. And so I went along and saw Rob, who works there at the back with his students. And I said, Rob, do you think you could make me some frames? And so we discussed it, and I said what I needed, and we talked about it. It was obviously going to take a time because this was only a couple of months before we actually were going to be planting them. I went in and talked to Jamie, who's there, and he said, well, okay, making frames, but I have these French doors that you could use, which would save time making. So we used the French doors, and Rob made all the frames with all his students.
You look at the mark where the 15 is. Do you know which one's 15?
Yeah.
That's it. Lovely.
Then we came to the planting. How do we plant it? Who do we get involved? Well, I gave a shout out for everybody to come along on the Friday and Saturday to put the poppies in, because now we had a structure, it was going to be so much easier to plant that I could just tell them, there's the poppies, just drop them in and we'll go around and straighten them up afterwards. And we had a great turnout, not masses of people, but enough to actually get through the poppies from late Thursday afternoon, I'd say, through to Saturday. And just everybody came along. People were coming, walking past us. One chap was saying, oh, I'm working. So I said, oh, come on, put one in. You know, at least you've put a poppy in, you've taken part in it. And that was the most important thing to me, that everybody from every age group, every walk of life actually did it. So when people were coming up when we were planting the poppies, and they were saying, oh, this looks fantastic. And I was saying, well, yes, but what you have to think is each of these poppies is 100 lives that were lost. So 1 million lives lost in a war is an enormous amount. And the fact that we just don't want it to happen again, and we must not forget that it happened. People asked if the river was starting in the orchards and going up to Muster Green, how would it travel up to Muster Green? So I had a discussion with Ray Smith, the vicar of St Wilfrid's Church, and he agreed to allow us to put poppies on the 5 gravestones in the churchyard. So we went along and put poppies on there, so they at least travel up now towards Muster Green. I also spoke to Dave Collins, who has the list of all the graves, the war graves in Western Road Cemetery. So the cadets and I are going round to put them on graves.
If anybody from Walden Park, just have one with the Walden Park.
When we'd finished planting the 10,000 poppies, how were we going to make an event of it? Because it's a big thing to do. And what sort of ceremony would we have? Something that would be respectful, bearing in mind the enormity of the event.
Sincere thanks go to Sylvia Harris, who began this amazing and poignant community project to create this beautiful River of Poppies as a tribute to the centenary of the end of World War I. Each of these handmade poppies are there to remember those who gave their lives during this war. My deepest thanks also goes to the community of Haywards Heath and Mid-Sussex for their dedication and commitment in making some 10,000 poppies. It is my great honour also to plant the 10,000th poppy together with Celia Baker, President of the Royal British Legion Women's Section for Burgess Hill. This is a great commemoration to our most valiant soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice.
If we planted the last poppy, who would plant it? Well, bearing in mind that I had the Board Hill poppy, which has 100 poppies in it, that would be ideal to put in as the last poppy, and to have the Mayor and the British Legion ladies group from Burgess Hill, the President, both to do the planting. So that's what we did. It turned out as well as I expected it to turn out. And the fact that so many people have been involved, it's been a joy to do, because before I started doing it, I thought, oh, people are going to say, why are you doing poppies, you know? There's always the people who want to put things down, and no, absolutely not. Everybody's been absolutely delighted. I've even had friends email me and say, we thought you were really stretching it to make 10,000, but it's happened.